blood-drenched asylum, ghostly burial grounds, satanic imagery. What evil lurks in the grounds of America's most haunted campus? Find out next on In Search Of. Stroll down Fraternity Row on any college campus, and you're bound to see some hellish behavior. But students of one university claim their biggest bash is thrown by the anguished souls that haunt its ivy-covered halls. Was this college built on sinister ground? Our story takes us to Athens, Ohio, for a tour of the haunted campus. Ohio University, nestled in the middle of America's heartland, a seemingly ordinary college in an ordinary town. But when the sun goes down, there emerges a far different and darker scenario.
It's not an abnormal situation for someone to say, yeah, we had random lights coming on in our dorm.
A couple buildings on this campus are haunted. Several things are unexplainable on this campus.
I don't think anybody should really be closed to the possibilities of supernatural things going on here because it's just the nature of the area.
Athens, Ohio was settled in 1797. Ohio University, the first college in the Northwest Territory, was founded just 7 years later. The school is located in an eerie spot. Whether by coincidence or design, no one knows.
There are 5 cemeteries surrounding the entire campus, and these 5 cemeteries form a circle. A girl was studying there late in the...
Graduate student Ben Shoemaker is an expert on the university's haunted history and gives ghost tours of the campus.
Now, if you were to actually link these cemeteries in a straight line, you can form a pentagram.
The pentagram is a symbol of the occult. All the buildings within this pentagram are alleged to be haunted, except for the administration building at the pentagram's exact center. Graduate student Carrie Brannon claims she's had ghostly encounters during her years at the university. Her first occurred during her sophomore year when she lived in Jefferson Hall. Legend has it that this dormitory is built on top of an Indian burial ground. At first, her roommate thought that Carrie was responsible for the unexplainable events.
Things would just come up missing. Lights would come on in the middle of the night. You're like, Carrie, why'd you leave the light on? And I would be adamant that I did not turn the light on, and we would just never know. I would have this recurring dream that there was somebody hovering over me when I was asleep. It was dark, and I would get up, and I would still see them.
But when she turned on the light, there was no one there. At first, she thought her nocturnal visitor was one of her roommates, or the product of an overactive imagination. Then her dream took an ominous turn.
One night, spring quarter of last year, my roommate, who has the other room upstairs, her boyfriend was sleeping in there, and I had the dream again, except this time I felt hands around my neck, and it scared the daylights out of me. I ended up going downstairs and just sitting up on the couch.
The next morning, Carrie told her roommates what happened.
And my roommate stopped me, and she actually dropped her spoon because we were all eating breakfast, and she said, oh my gosh, that Dylan, which is her boyfriend, had woken her in the middle of the night and accused her of putting her hands around his neck. And she said, you know, Dylan, I didn't do that. And he said, well, you know, I felt someone with their hands around my neck.
Carrie still can't explain what happened that night, but the memory will be with her forever.
Every time I talk about it now, even now, I get cold chills. I'm not one to be, oh, there's ghosts in my house, but when someone has the exact same experience with you in the exact same night, same level of the house, you have to ask yourself, what happened? Carrie's story isn't Jefferson Hall's only ghostly tale, nor is it the most frightening. In the late 1970s, the dorm was the home of a young woman who reportedly practiced witchcraft.
Nine dark spirits.
Her neighbors were accustomed to hearing her chant, but one night was different from the rest.
They also heard a very loud scream.
When dorm officials finally unlocked her door, they found her lying there, dead.
All over one wall, there were all these different drawings, pentagrams, symbols that no one really could understand. It was all drawn from this girl's own blood.
School officials tried to paint over the walls, but witnesses alleged that the young woman refused to be silenced.
Even though they painted over all the blood, all the different things that have been written on the wall, somehow they always seem to bleed through.
Other ghost stories have been traced to the university's hidden past. We'll share the dark secrets of the haunted campus when we come back. Ohio University has earned a reputation as America's haunted campus. A few years ago, a group of young women allegedly spotted a ghost while exploring the catacombs of Jefferson Hall.
They were walking through the hall and they found an open room. They looked inside the room and they saw this old lady. She was hovering above a chair, about 1 inch off the chair. The woman was transparent.
Frightened, the girls quickly ran to get a resident advisor.
They brought the RA back to the room and found that the room was locked, and that once they got inside the room, there was no one inside.
Perhaps the eeriest place on this ivy-covered campus is the complex known as the Ridges.
Some people would consider this the paranormal epicenter of Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. I've been up here at night before, and I will never come up here at night again. You wouldn't catch me dead here.
Today, most of the Ridges buildings are closed. But for over 100 years, it bustled as a lunatic asylum.
What you see on the outside isn't always what's on the inside. A beautiful building, beautiful grounds. It's not necessarily what's inside.
Filmmaker Anne Houligard recently finished a documentary about a particularly gruesome period in the Ridges' history.
In the early 50s, people who were put into the asylum sometimes absolutely should not have been there. Old age, homosexuality, menopause, or female trouble was sometimes the diagnosis people were admitted for.
No matter what the diagnosis, the treatment was the same.
Dr. Freeman, who sort of created the ice pick lobotomy, stopped at Athens Asylum many times and performed these lobotomies to 40 patients at a time.
It's said that evidence of unspeakable suffering can still be found inside today.
You see all these different signs that patients use, pentagrams, you see 3 6s, you see different things that patients actually carved into the wall. You see different stakes in the cement, and you have to ask yourself, why would there be 2 stakes basically at arm's length in a wall for it?
One former grad student told Ben of the Night that she and a friend used the underground tunnels that connect the buildings.
She looked over to a wall and she saw in blood, I was never crazy, and it was written there by a patient who had killed themselves.
You can't help but feel there are unresolved issues, injustices, souls crying out that still want to be heard when you come here, and you can really feel their presence.
One patient is particularly famous for the indelible mark she made here. In December of 1978, Margaret Schilling went for a walk and never came back.
And they did a search through the whole asylum for her, and they couldn't find her. And after a few weeks, they gave up. But 5 weeks after she was thought to be missing, the custodian found her up in the attic.
Margaret Schilling lay dead on the ground, her arms crossed on her chest.
She was nude, and her clothes were in a pile next to her. And her body had somehow decomposed on the cement and left a perfect image, outline of her body.
I've seen the actual stain on the floor where Margaret Schilling actually laid down and died. The janitors, they've tried to clean it so many times. You can see the scrub marks where they've tried to get rid of it, and it just won't go away.
Today, many students are too afraid to venture up to the grounds. Ghost stories like these have stirred up controversy on campus.
The university is very sensitive to the haunting stories. They don't want it necessarily to come out that they're the haunted campus, the haunted Ohio University.
University officials may try to deny their existence, but the poltergeists on this campus seem determined to make their presence known. And until another explanation can be found, the flashing lights, frightening figures, and noises emanating from empty rooms will all be considered the handiwork of the ghosts of Ohio University.